Okay, so I'm a few minutes late, but let's, what do we do, bang the gavel and call this meeting to order? Where's my gavel? Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I guess we're going to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody care to join me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, one republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can we get a roll call?
Board Member Adams.
Here.
Chair Kennedy.
Here.
Board Member Eli. Present. Board Member Lugtu absent. We have a quorum.
Very good, thank you, Cesar. And we go item 4, consent calendar and approval of agenda, and approval of the minutes. So recommendation, boom, 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 boom. So I need, I guess, a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
I second that.
And we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Through the chair, we're going to do the vote through the Titan system.
It's too fancy. Okay.
I don't see any.
We have 3 ayes and the motion carries.
Very good. And 4B, approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve the minutes.
And a second.
I second.
Okay, I'll call the vote.
We have 3 ayes and the motion carries.
Okay, moving on to item 5, report of the city council liaison. Do we have anyone from council here this evening?
Through the chair, the council liaison is currently not present.
Okay, very good. We'll move on to item 6, community forum. I imagine we have some speakers.
Thank you, Chair. Currently, we have speakers signed up for the item number, I believe, the public hearing. We do have one speaker who signed up for community forum. I believe that's FLGG. Did anybody sign up for community forum? Would you like to step up to the podium, please?
Having difficulty hearing you.
I heard that. So.
Are you looking for someone to stand up and make comments?
Well, this is the community forum section of the meeting. I have someone here who signed up for the community forum. Initials LGG. Would you like to step up to the podium? Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Maya Van. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm not sure if that's the right section I signed up for. And thank you for this opportunity. I'm here today because, like many of you, I envision a Vallejo that shines. A city, every street that is clean, every neighborhood is vibrant, and every resident has a safe place to call home. To achieve this, I propose we establish a Vallejo City Community Beautification and Housing Fund project. Our city is neglected. Our reputation is suffering because of it. For too long, our visible and only obvious challenges that we have with the homelessness and the urban blights has cast a shadow over Vallejo, impacting our economic potential and our quality of life. This isn't just another project, it's a bold
Ma'am, before we continue, I just want to confirm, are your comments regarding the Vista Cove project on the action item?
Say it again, no, it's not. That's the community forum.
Okay.
Can you move the microphone so closer to?
Okay, so what section are we on right now? Because I don't have
So
it.
we're on the community forum where you could discuss any topic you like that's not on the regular scheduled agenda for tonight.
Okay, so this will be the section that I'll speak. Thank you. So, being that the homelessness is only visible and it's like casting the shadow over Vallejo, especially our economic potential and our quality of life. This isn't another project, it's a bold, direct investment for our city's future and our collective well-being. Vallejo, we do have dedicated organizations working tirelessly for the homelessness, and the efforts they go unlooked, we understand their work is very vital. I'm not here to undercut the value of their work. However, there is a crucial and often overlooked layer of the solution that they overlook, that there's small groups and communities and individuals that are willing to establish and work very hard to gather supportive housing. They're familiar with the neighborhood. They have the properties. They have everything that's needed to help this groups of individuals that are homeless, but they're just lacking a lot of the initial capital to start. So I think that's just about it. That's all. That's all.
Okay, well, thank you. Have you looked at, seems to me we have a beautification advisory commission. No?
I understand that. This will also be to beautify, not only just to beautify Vallejo, but also while we're beautifying Vallejo, because the clutter of Vallejo is from the homeless. So it's like collabing the both by housing the homeless and cleaning up Vallejo, because the funds will clearly go to housing them, and it'll have a specific criteria, but it will ensure that the funds will be used to beautify all those cities, or all those, really the neighborhoods in the cities where they're extremely visible.
Sure. I was just thinking that might be a resource that you could connect with, that try to further that work.
Yeah, through the chair, we do have a beautification commission. There's also the Economic Development Department and their commission as well. If you would like to we have contact information for them on our website, as well as cards at the front of the information door, if you would like to get in touch with them and get more involved with those commissions. But at this point, I think the community forum, there's no other speakers at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your speaking.
Through the chair, if I may just request, can you have your microphone a little bit closer to your mouth as well?
Surely.
Thank you.
Don't want to miss those dulcet tones. Okay, anyone else on the community forum? No Zooms?
None at this time, Chair.
In which case, we can move on to item 7, item 7A, the public hearing. Item A, adopt a resolution recommending the Planning Commission approve design review DR 23-0006 and landscape review LR 23-0002 for a 51-unit single-family residential subdivision, Vista Cove, located on a vacant site near the intersection of Shady Lane and Wildflower Avenue, APNs 0079-171-170 and 0079-120-100. So I'm going to go ahead and open that hearing. What do we want to do first, Cesar? What do you got for us?
Thank you, to the chair. Tonight, what I do have before you is a presentation regarding the Vista Cove residential subdivision. I am Cesar Orozco, planning manager for current development from the city of Vallejo, and also the project planner for this project. Thank you. Next slide, please. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is to hold a public hearing, review the project, including public testimony, and make a recommendation to the Planning Commission on the proposed project design and the overall landscaping plan. Next slide, please. Just as a reminder, this project is subject to the Levine Act. This item is subject to the Levine Act. Any city elected and appointed official, including candidates for city elected office or city officers who have received a campaign contribution of more than $500 within 12 months prior from a party, participant, or the representatives involved in this proceeding may do either of the following. Disclose the contribution on the record and recuse themselves from this proceeding, or 2, return the portion of the contribution that exceeds $500 within 30 days from the time the elected official knew or should have known about the contribution and participate in the proceeding. All parties, participants, and the representatives must disclose on the record if this proceeding of any contribution of more than $500 made to the city officers, such as the mayor and/or council members within 12 months prior to the date of the proceeding. City officers are prohibited from accepting, soliciting, or directing a contribution of more than $500 from a party, participant, or their representatives during a proceeding and for 12 months following the date a final decision is rendered. Through the chair, have any members of the board received any contributions of $500 or more?
I have not. Anyone else?
I have not.
Thank you. So the project site is located at the intersection of Shady Lane and Wildflower Avenue in the Glen Cove subdivision. It is surrounded by existing residential roadways and open space. The subject site is bounded to the north by Interstate 780 with California Highway Patrol Office, Benicia Road, and St. Vincent's High School on the other side. To the east of the site is open space and the Benicia State Park. Vacant land is to the south and an existing single-family residence subdivision to the west. Interstate 780 is approximately 0.1 miles to the north, and Interstate I-80 is approximately 1.7 miles to the west. Each provide regional access, while Shady Lane and Wildflower Avenue provide direct access to the project site. The immediate vicinity of the project site is characterized by existing single-family residential uses and open space. The site's general plan 2040 land use designation is primarily single-family and mix of housing types, which is implemented by the residential low density and residential medium density zoning districts. So the existing conditions, it is a vacant 20.13 acre site made up by an undulating hills and flat areas. Once again, existing access, there is an existing access easement from Wildflower Avenue. So the proposed project includes a tentative map, development review, landscape review, design review, zoning map amendment, and a plan development to subdivide 2 vacant parcels totaling 20.13 acres into 57 new parcels for the construction of 51 detached single-family residences, open spaces, private roads and alleys, and bioretention swells. The project includes the construction of 1 new primary street and 4 alleyways with associated improvements such as sidewalks, streetlights, and infrastructure. The Design Review Board does not have authority to act on the required entitlements associated with the project. However, they can make a recommendation on the overall design and landscaping to the Planning Commission when requested. For ease of reference, the review, the full project is being presented and the Design Review Board. And the Design Review Board is invited to review and comment on the relevant design aspects of the project, such as the architecture and the landscaping. It should be noted that the Planning Commission will consider the recommendation of the Design Review Board in its action and the associated project entitlements, including the design review, landscape review, development review, and the tentative map directly. Also, the Planning Commission will be making a recommendation to the City Council to act on the requested zoning map amendment to plan development and the overall plan development. That they're making a recommendation. No, the Planning Commission's making a recommendation to City Council. Next slide, please. Sorry. The 51 single-family lots are proposed to be developed with 4 different floor plans to be dispersed throughout the subdivision, each offering a modern farmhouse articular variation. The 4 different floor plans range from 2,329 square feet to 2,898 square feet with an overall maximum building height of 30 feet and 4 inches. Each floor plan comes with a total of 3 bedrooms and 2.5 bathrooms, where floor plan 2 comes with an additional bedroom and bathroom, and floor plans 3 and 4 come with an additional bedroom and bathroom plus a loft. Lastly, each floor plan will come standard with an attached 2-car garage, and there would be 2 uncovered parking spaces within the driveway of each lot. New landscaping, including street trees, shrubs, and ground covers, is also proposed for installation with all new residences' front yards and throughout the subdivision. As previously mentioned, the proposed 51 single-family residences are to develop with 4 different floor plans and to be dispersed throughout the subdivision, each offering a modern farmhouse architectural variation. The architectural character of the project draws on the project site's proximity to the California's wine country and the community's natural topography. The proposed architectural style is modern farmhouse, which integrates traditional rural forms with modern design elements to create a cohesive contemporary residential expression. The design incorporates articulated wall planes to provide a variation in massing and enhance the visual interest of each elevation. These modulations help to reduce the scale of the structure and contribute to a more pedestrian-friendly streetscape. What you see here before you is the streetscape of the floor plan 1. This is the streetscape for the floor plan 2. This is the streetscape for floor plan 3. And finally, this is the streetscape for floor plan 4. So the project site has existing trees located primarily near the perimeter of the site. Under Vallejo Municipal Code, Chapter 10.12, trees on any street, park, pleasure ground, boulevard, alley, or public place of the cities are protected, and any existing trees 6 inches in diameter or greater are required to be assessed prior to removal. An arborist report was prepared, and a total of 83 trees were assessed, identifying 7 different tree species such as coastal live oaks, plum cherry, apple Monterey pine, valley oak, toyon, and strawberry tree, with the coast live oak as the most common species. The trees range from poor to good condition. The report concluded that with the recommendation of the removal of 69 of the 83 trees on site, which have been proposed in the development plans. Below Municipal Code Section 16.50407C, replacement of significant trees requires that trees shall be replaced at a ratio of at least 3 new trees for every tree removed, except for the fire-prone species identified in the code section 16.504. The minimum size of replacement trees shall be 15 gallons. Exception to this requirement may be approved by the director when the site conditions warrant. Replacement trees shall be planted in the following order of priority: either on the project site, on any adjacent property subject to approval of the owner, or in the public right-of-way adjacent to the property subject to approval of the Public Works Director. Of the 69 trees proposed to be removed, 47 of the trees are considered to be significant and shall be replaced at a 3-to-1 ratio. A total of 141 new trees are being proposed as part of the project and will be planted throughout the site. Before you is the typical front yard planting where new landscaping will be provided in the front yards of each new residential lot, as well as within all proposed open spaces and around the bow retention swells. The landscaping comprises of trees, shrubs, and ground covers that would be planted to enhance the project site, and the new landscaping within the project would create a visually pleasing settling for the homes to be constructed on the site. As proposed, the project meets the required findings for the Design Review Board per Vallejo Municipal Code, Section 16.604.03, and as described in the staff report and the resolution. The proposed project is consistent with all objective design standards, consistent with applicable general plan design policies, and consistent with the zoning district. On June 26, 2025, pursuant to the Vallejo Municipal Code, Section 16.602, a notice of this hearing was published in the Times-Herald, mailed to all active neighborhood groups and property owners within 500 feet of the subject property, and electronically mailed to the members of the Design Review Board, the applicant, local agencies expected to provide water, wastewater treatment, and other essential facilities or services to the project, the school district, the applicant, property owners, and all interested parties. From the notification, a total of 6 comments were submitted in writing to the city expressing concerns on the overall development. One of the comments that was provided, the existing property owner is adjacent to the construction of the Shady Lane roadway, and the landscaping that will be added by this roadway will be next to our property. They are requesting if they can include additional landscaping materials and possibly a masonry wall between the driveway, the new roadway, and the property. Additionally, a few of the other comments that were provided to the city expressed concerns regarding the proposal of how it would affect the overall traffic in the neighborhood, the overall flow of the neighborhood. There's also some bio issues that have brought up concerns, as well as of course, traffic, aesthetics, and as well as biological resources that are currently on the site. And these comments have been provided to the members of the Design Review Board. They're also printed out in the back and are posted online for the public to review. Next slide, please. So next steps, as proposed, so the completion of the draft environmental impact report and posting for a 45-day public review period. Just would like to note that this is not purview of the Design Review Board, and they don't have any review over the CEQA process. The Planning Commission public hearing so we have a Planning Commission public hearing to review and make recommendations to the City Council, and the City Council public hearing to make the final decision on the overall project. So after, with the recommendation that the Design Review Board makes tonight, we will have to go before the Planning Commission, where they'll be making a recommendation to City Council, and they'll ultimately be taking final action on the project. So based on the analysis contained in the staff report, staff recommends that the Design Review Board make a recommendation to the Planning Commission approving Design Review Board DR 23-006 and Landscape Review LR 23-02 for a 51-unit single-family residential subdivision known as Vista Cove, located on a vacant site near the intersections of Shady Lane and Wildflower Avenue. And that concludes my presentation for tonight. I do want to make the commission or the board aware that the applicant is online, attending the meeting virtually, if the board has any questions regarding the overall proposal.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. And it would always be my preference to hear public comments first, but that's not how we do it around here. So I guess we'll go ahead and discuss this amongst ourselves. Do you guys have any questions for Cesar, staff, the applicant?
Through the chair, you usually deliberate after public comment, but you can ask.
Oh, great. Let's
but right
deliberate
now
after
you
public comment.
But you do have time to ask questions anytime throughout the hearing. You can ask questions until
Great. No, I
until
want to get public comment so we can
Okay.
hear people's concerns before we deliberate. Okay, well then I'm going to open it for public comment. Who do we got? Oh, go ahead.
Yes, through the chair, you may. Sorry.
I wanted to ask Cesar, generally, I thought that the Planning Commission approves the project before the Design Review commission looks at the design of the project. So I'm just curious about the order of approvals here.
Yeah, through the chair. So the below municipal code does provide a process depending on the number of residential units that are being proposed. If it's a 2 to 10 unit residential proposal, it's at a director level decision. If it's 11 to 49 units, it's a design review board recommendation to the director. And if it's 50 units or more, it's a design review board recommendation to the planning commission. Since the overall project does include a plan development and also a rezoning of the map from residential low density and residential medium density to plan development, it adds another layer to it, and it will have to go before the city council as well.
And I just want to get a little further, just kind of embroider on, I think, statements you read in earlier, and just to then kind of clarify. So all we're looking at this are objective and subjective design standards. But what's interesting, I guess, is with the rezoning, those standards are somewhat modified from what we might typically look at. So are we looking at that, or is that nothing to do with us? That rezoning to the PD?
So you may look at all of the findings that are, and the criteria that are listed on page 4 of the staff report. And are the findings in the resolution? There are findings in the resolution, and you cannot deny a project, but you're not approving a project. So you can make comments on design. Like, you cannot deny a housing project under state law because you don't like the design.
So that would,
only like if it's
even
subjective.
if it's market rate.
Pardon?
Even if it's market rate. So this is a strictly market rate housing,
Cor-
but it's.
But you are allowed to discuss the architectural style and design at this meeting.
But we don't have an opinion on that at the end of the meeting. So we can discuss it because we like discussing it.
You can have an opinion.
But do we make a recommendation based on that? Yes or no?
Yes, you may.
Okay, so just then subjectively, I could just say the roof's not steep enough. I would encourage planning not to approve, if that was how I felt.
Correct, you can include that.
Okay. The question I have is that in the objective standards, what standard are we looking at? What lens? Are we looking at this as RMD?
You can answer, or do you want me to answer?
You
Okay.
can.
So, yeah, there is a plan development, and there should be a discussion in here of what the changes are to the...
Which are huge.
Which are huge.
Right, and so the question then is,
You
is
look
the
at it
lens
through the
PD?
lens of the PD.
Okay, so we would abandon any discussion.
It has to be...
Got it.
It has to be consistent with the development standards in the regular, that apply to the project, and the PD is only for those things that deviate from the standard. So you have maybe 2 sets of standards, if that makes sense. Some under development review, but that's not your purview, that's planning commission.
Good. So then in other words, the PD is going to allow a 75% garage door frontage.
Correct.
Which would not be allowed in RMD.
Correct.
And
Right.
PD is going to allow a 7-foot front
If-
yard
if
setback.
the council- if the
Again,
ca- yeah.
but that's the lens that we're looking at. So then we can ignore all that stuff.
Right.
Okay, great. Do we have any other questions? Then I guess we do speakers.
Through the chair, I believe we've only had one speaker sign up earlier, and that was Maya Van, but I take it we have other speakers who might want to speak. I would recommend just coming up to the podium, one after another, and state your name, and you get 3 minutes. Yep.
I have a question to ask in the first place. All this meeting is designed is to say the houses are okay, the design of the house is okay.
Can I ask you to approach the mic and read that into the record?
Because I'm concerned with the layout, I'm concerned with the little narrow places with 51 houses and 150 cars coming and going. But that's not the purview, so I'm understanding. That is not to be discussed tonight.
Correct. So what we're going to talk about is what color is the paint.
So what colors of paint?
Yes.
Okay, I don't even care if you paint them pink. Okay, but that's what I want to know, because
Through
I have a
the
lot of
chair,
things I'd like
yeah,
to
through the
say.
chair, you're confirming with the city attorney. You're more than welcome to express any opinion you would like regarding the project.
Yeah, well, my one is cutting,
Can I refer
cutting
one Could I get you to give us your name for?
Yeah, my name is Carol McKenzie. Carol McKenzie, I've been living in Glen Cove since it was built.
Thank you.
I'm very concerned about wildlife and the cutting off of portions of wildlife areas where the animals can no longer migrate back and forth because they'll have to cross the street to do so. Goodness knows we've got few places for wildlife anymore. And I'm really, I talked to the developers with the first meeting, and they said, oh, but they can cross the street and it's open space on the other side. Okay. The other is these tiny little, they call them what, driveways that are going into these houses. Everybody in Glen Cove, go count them. We've all got 3 cars and nobody uses their garage. They're going to have all these cars. They're going to be coming out. They're going to be going down this narrow little street. They're going to be going up this one. What if there's an accident on that street? They have no way to go. That's going to cut off all access to the project if there's one little problem on the corner of Shady Lane and Wildflower, a fire. This is a big issue. You know, right now we've got nice wide streets, we've got plenty of choices which way we want to go, but that's not going to work with the plan the way it is. Those are my two big issues. The other is the proximity to the park. We're going to have all these cars, and they're going to be, Benicia State Park is right down there, and the tranquility of the park is going to be ruined. The 51 proposed development is a quiet neighborhood, registered. There's no public transportation, so these aren't going to be people that can move in there that can't afford homes. These houses are not to solve the housing crisis in Vallejo. The housing crisis is you need little small homes where people can shop. None of which has anything to do, go ahead and paint them pink, if you like.
Thank you. Let's get our next speaker.
Hi, I'm Christine Gibson, and I live on Wildflower Avenue, immediately adjacent to the property. My concerns with the design, and I will focus on just the design, is when Sansera originally met with the community members in January of this year, we were told the houses would probably be between 2,000 and 2,400 square feet. Then the design comes in at 28, so I'm concerned that that would change through the progress of the development and the actual structural building. Most of the houses in the surrounding Glen Cove area, which is known as Glen Cove 1 and Glen Cove 2, most of those houses were built in the 80s, so they're smaller footprints, and I understand that new developments need to have bigger houses. That just seems to be the trend. But the physical proximity of the houses, as our prior speaker expressed, the narrow, what they're referring to as alleys, that people will access their houses from. Those things concern me, and they don't fit the aesthetic of the community that I live in. There is, of course, the wildlife and the street access and the emergency access, and I submitted written comments that talk about the surrounding streets and the condition of those surrounding streets being identified by the city of Vallejo as poor, category 5, with no planned maintenance in the general plan that runs through 2040. So we're going to add upwards of 100 cars coming and going on those streets that are failing as if. The other thing I would say about the design is I think it's aesthetically, it's pleasing. The developer has done thoughtful work around the planting and the houses, so I give them that. But I just think that the number of houses, the ones that are going to be built on what I believe would be the north side of the development, will be visible from the freeway, pretty much, or they will have a view of the freeway. So that's one of my concerns, because that's not something you see in Vallejo in general, other than the Cascade at Waterstone that's getting built on Columbus, which is highly visible from the freeway. As we all know, it's going to be on the border of the Benicia State Park. So the Glen Cove community in general, most of the houses are kind of not raw exposure to the parkland. They're at the top of the hills, they're behind trees, etc. These houses will be visually available for every visitor in the park, probably for 30 years, maybe 20, until the trees grow up enough to build the visual boundary between housing and the open parkland. So I just want those things to be taken into consideration when a decision's made on the design. Thank you for my time.
Okay, do we have more speakers?
My name is Lee Neiman. I live on the corner of Wildflower and Shady Lane. I don't know if this is the forum to talk about, I mean, it's for the review of the design review, but I really am just looking for a forum to talk about how I feel about the project and what I think are some of the issues, and I don't know if this is a place to do that or not. Will there be another time or place, or should I make my comments here and now?
You can make your comments now, and then you should pay attention to the Planning Commission meeting. That would be the next step in this process.
Okay. Now, let me also ask, the planning, your function here is just to review the design and move it forward to the Planning Commission, I presume?
With a recommendation.
With a recommendation.
Right, which
Okay,
the Planning Commission can ignore if they
And
want
so,
to.
right now, we're talking about the design review. I'd really like to talk about some issues other than that.
You can go ahead and talk about the
Okay,
project.
first of all, I've
Losing
lived on the
time.
corner of Wildflower and Shady Lane for 20 years. So I own a home there. So that is right there in that corner where this road is going to go. I haven't seen any three-dimensional views of this, just some flatline drawings. The thing is, I don't know how many of you have been to this location or seen this, so that to make a recommendation. But when you come there, first of all, it's a very small opening to get in there. Secondly, I know that there's a pumping station right on that corner. But this is an extreme, Shady Lane is a very steep hill. And then when you get to there, it's just a straight, I mean, almost 45-degree angle down to the park. And I noticed in the thing there was no mention about Benicia State Park. The whole watershed is right there. And I believe when they designed the Glen Cove, where we live, they left a buffer zone between the state park. If you look there, there's a big buffer zone between the state park and all the housing units that are there now. And so what you're talking about now is moving all this, coming down here and moving all these houses down there with the pollution and the phosphates from fertilizers and stuff, all going down into that watershed. And that is a pristine park, wildlife, flowers, saltwater marsh. And like I said, I don't think that was taken into consideration enough. And I think that possibly the state park should be involved, because that would certainly be affecting their state park and its environment. My time is up, so I have a lot more to say, but thank you.
Okay, yeah, I think those comments will be more, will carry more weight at planning commission than they do here, whether I agree with them or not. And let's keep moving on, I guess. Do we have more speakers?
My name's Rick Savatsky. I live in Wildflowers since '86.
Can you get a little closer to the mic, please?
I agree with everybody that has said everything, really. I noticed that there's no playgrounds for the kids down there, so the nearest playground is at the school, which is, most people can't even walk that far up that hill and then down. I noticed there's no single-story houses, and as people get older, they don't want a two-story house, but apparently people will buy them. And the traffic on Wildflower and Shady Lane, if you've ever gone up Shady Lane to go onto Robles, and especially if a truck or car is parked on the corner, you can't see. There's no way to get around. You have to inch out, inch out. I'm sure I have more to say, but I can't think of anything right now. So, thank you.
Okay. Do we have any? We have one more. Very good.
My opinion, my name is Maya Van. I'm in the city of Vallejo, California. My opinion to the developers is to maybe hold off someone's device. Is there maybe hold off on this development and stay, get away from Benicia, and maybe look to develop and help Vallejo, and maybe they can, I mean, they're closer to that away, and the development is kind of insignificant, truly, right now. But my opinion to the developer, and then maybe to the planning commission, to hold it off a little bit, like a long time, a little bit. And maybe by then, they'll get more yays than nays. And that's it. And someone's phone is here. Good night, commissioners. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Can I say one more thing?
I wish you would. Come on up.
Now, the reason, I mean, we have a housing shortage in Vallejo, and it's a low-income housing shortage. And looking at the square footage of these houses, which are larger than mine, and mine's one of the larger houses in the neighborhood, it's much larger than mine. So you're building, those homes will go for over $1 million each. So this has nothing to do with, low-cost housing. Like I said, I can't believe the prices. The values of the home, 1,100 square foot home, 1,100, which is a third of the size of this, would for $675,000 my next door neighbor just 3 years ago. So these homes are going to be well over $1 million. So, like I said, the issue of housing for Vallejo, I don't think is a real issue when you're building that kind of houses. Just my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Do we have any on Zoom or any other live? Oh, we got one more.
No,
Come on
no.
up.
They only get one bite at the apple. They can't come back.
Okay. Oh, well, we got someone on Zoom.
Through the chair, that's the applicant, so if there's any more speakers,
Okay, so it seems we have no more speakers.
No other speakers at this time online either, Chair.
Okay, thank you kindly. Well, great, let's talk about it. Thoughts,
So,
opinions?
through the chair, the applicant, Adam Smith from Sincera, has his hand up. Peter saying he wants to say a
Great.
comment.
Can everybody else see him? I know I've got him on my little mini monitor.
All right. Are you guys able to hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Chairman Kennedy and members of the board, my name is Adam Smith. I'm with Sansera Management. This is a project that we are the applicant on. And I wanted to thank you guys for the comments that and feedback that we're getting tonight from you guys and the public. So thank you for your time on this. I wanted to thank Cesar for putting the staff report together. So thank you, Cesar, for that. I did want to clarify one thing for the record. The home sizes that were listed in the notice were larger than the home sizes. The home sizes listed in the by Cesar include the garages. That is not how you notify a home. Selling a home, if you're borrowing on a home, if you're doing an appraisal on a home, it's the living square footage. So for the record, I just want to read those in. The Plan 1 square footage that you would see on public record and on tax bill is 2,050 square feet. Plan 2 is 2,202 square feet. Plan 3, 2,494 square feet. And the Plan 4 is 2,618. So homes are not quite as big as what some of the folks that have been speaking are discussing. I just want to make sure that that is clear for everybody and for members of the design review. And then if you do have any questions for, we have our civil engineer, our architect, our landscape architect here. So we are happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. For the applicant, are you guys open to involving, some community input on landscape materials at that buffer area? Was one of the comments.
I'm not sure what you're referring to by the buffer area. Can you maybe expand on that?
One of the neighbors, I think, is abutting the project and asked if they could have some voice. And they've actually articulated some specific materials in their correspondence to the city. Is that something we could forward on?
Yes, I do have a copy of the correspondence from an Allison Egan. And so what I'd like to do is I would really like to meet with her in person. I don't know that we can commit or not commit to anything. We got to talk to our team and make sure things fit and things make sense. But I would love to meet with her. So if that commenter has the ability to communicate with us, maybe through SASAR, I would love to do that. Or if you guys have any feedback tonight for us, we're open to listening.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. If Cesar, can you help facilitate that? That'd be great. And then traffic, we don't really have a lot to say about proportion. Do you guys have any thoughts on sort of proportion and how that and this is an interesting one. Do we discuss contextual harmony? How far does this design, do we extend off the lot, out of the subdivision?
I wouldn't take it into consideration, but you can discuss it or mention your opinion. But, I don't think that's one of the considerations.
Okay.
I'm not seeing it listed.
Okay, great. And that was the question.
But I understand your point, but if you
Just
want
asked
to
and
make
answered, so,
a
yeah,
general
no.
comment, you're more than
Well, and I think, certainly we can
welcome.
recommend planning that they weigh that in balance as they there hasn't been a great deal of discussion in the presentation here in terms of view impacts, and I got it, the view shed is not a protected, nobody has any right to it, but there hasn't been any discussion of those massing and proportion issues. And EIR and CEQA, we just can't talk about environmental. Sorry, can't help wildlife, can't help parking. But we meet parking standards, right? So we're pretty comfortable. We actually have 4 per, so they should just buy smaller cars.
Through the chair, the City of Vallejo zoning code only requires 1 covered off-street parking space per residential unit.
But we're providing 4. I read there were 2, and I
That's
couldn't
correct.
quite.
So each single-family residence is providing an attached 2-car garage, as well as being able to provide 2 additional cars on the driveway pad in front of the garage.
And that, I'm trying to understand, because didn't we reduce the front yard setback? And so what size car is fitting in a 7-foot driveway?
I can address that if that's helpful.
Perfect. Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Okay. So the front setback is measured to the porch, and then the garages are set a little bit further back from the porch. The way we've designed them right now, the setbacks we have right now are slightly higher than the minimum, and we are trying to preserve an 18-foot driveway, which would be standard for fitting most vehicles.
That's squinchy. It doesn't fit my Dodge truck, and I'm not letting go of my truck. Okay, but so anyway, but still, we far exceed, is the point. We meet and exceed. So the on-street parking then is just not something I see us being able to help with. Fire and safety, we can't help. The size of the units, we've partially addressed. The published footages included 4 to 425 or whatever, 2-car garage, so it should be reduced. And again, not much we can do about it. And pavement condition, I feel your pain. I live here too. I don't know, again, that this is something this body can help much with. And visibility from adjacent properties. I think parts of the highway system are, protected view sheds. There are scenic routes where you can't build things that are visible, and I don't think that part of 780 is one of them, is it? And the state park, they can represent themselves if they, I think. I don't think that we're able to help them, protect their view shed from the park. So I think that's all I have. If any of my board members have any questions or comments they want to read in, I'd love to hear it.
Through the chair, question for Cesar. Just to be clear, the purpose of this meeting is not to discuss traffic engineering. It's not to discuss geology, hydrology, any of the items that were discussed that are outside of the packet that we received. Is that clear? Is that?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Can we make a recommendation to table the review of the design until the commission meeting happens, and then address this again once the commission? Because I want more of the public to be able to have their opportunity to speak up, and I also want to know more about the Planning Commission's decision. So, but I will just say that, as far as design and whatnot, I agree with what folks are saying, like, that's nice, but I do think that there's some reservations about this community. I also live in Glen Cove, so I don't know if I can be unbiased in what I'm going to say, so.
How many feet away do you from
Live
the
from
project?
this?
Yeah.
I live up at the top of the hill.
You're
It's
probably-
not feet. It's like, I know I walk this area, so it's about 5 miles.
Oh, you're okay
Yeah.
then. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're just about to unseat my quorum, and we all got to go home. I'm loath to.
I'm sorry, 2.3 miles. I Googled it, sorry.
You're okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm loath to continue it because I think the intended sequence of events is that we make a recommendation to Planning Commission, and if we want our recommendation to have anything to do with anything, we make it, and if we don't, then we don't, and then they act, and once they've approved it, then our recommendation, is into an empty, they've already moved, they're done, it's over. So our chance to express an opinion and make a recommendation is now, not later. And then I hate to burden the developer. Part of the reason that houses have to be so big and lots have to be so small is that it takes sometimes years to get through this process to stick a shovel in the ground, and the carrying costs and changing economic climates are, scary for a developer. So I hate to just add a continuance if there's any way to talk you out of that.
Through the chair, I'm reading these findings again, and I want to backtrack on one of my earlier comments. There is a finding that says the project has been designed with consideration of neighboring development. So you can comment on that.
Okay.
There is another development that's happening near the graveyard that's quite close to this. So that, coupled with this, will be very impactful for that area. Yes? The last project near the graveyard.
You're discussing the project at the old East Vallejo Little League baseball fields, 131 detached single-family residences.
Mm-hmm.
So during the environmental review, the consultants that are working on both projects, they actually request a project list of all the projects that are currently being processed by the city or under construction. within about a mile and a half radius from the locations. Even though this project and KB Rollingwood Housing Project are way beyond a mile and a half from each other, that information has been provided to the CEQA consultants to also include in their analysis of how this development would affect the other development.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, but I also know that there's one way in, one way out of this area, and it's going to impact the traffic. I know that that's not part of our purview, but it will, and it will impact the nature, and it will impact all that. I do appreciate the fact that the developers are including the trees, the natural trees, although some are in good condition, some are not, but I would hope that they would consider a smaller footprint. I know that's also not what we're discussing, but.
Okay, and in terms of impact on the neighboring, what's the exact language? What are we reviewing?
The project has been designed with consideration of neighboring development.
I don't even know what that means.
I hear that language, but I also feel like it's not necessarily true. So, with one road in and one road out of a place, it's next to a state park.
Would you? That'd be great. Thank you.
I know they spoke to the community members, but I still feel like there's an impact that.
And I think that the consideration of impact on the surrounding development, does in fact open up all sorts of environmental, parking, traffic stuff. Is that? I mean, that's a positive, affirmative. So I think that we absolutely, both have to. I mean, I hear the concerns, and then I think it is appropriate that we kind of discuss, and then I guess can we find language that we can maybe ask the applicant to try to condition. We've asked the applicant to meet with a property owner to discuss landscape material, which is a small concession, but that's something. Is there any discussion of any kind of public transit or transit access that might make this a more walkable community, not quite so car dependent? That's for the applicant. I'm sorry, Adam, I wasn't clear. To the applicant.
I want to say a couple things regarding the site design in terms of the neighboring project. Like we've taken a lot of great care to make sure that this is consistent with the character of the neighboring community. It's in terms of both home sizes, character, type of home. Residential medium density zoning allows you to go up to 25 units to the acre, which on this site at 20 acres could be 500 dwelling units. And we are proposing 51. I believe the housing element indicates 51 units for this site as well. So we're literally doing the minimum that we should be doing for this site. And we're doing that because we believe that what we're doing is consistent and in line with the character of the surrounding community. I would also say that we have been working with staff and have gone through the process to make sure that this number of units can be supported with one way in and out. And I would also note that the one thing earlier you guys mentioned was views. We have been very careful to take into account views. The project is set lower than the homes on Wildflower by about 35 feet. And we have, we've shared with the community, I can put it up on the screen if you want to see it, but we've shared with the community kind of a view line of the folks on Wildflower looking from the backyard. They're still looking down as they look over our homes. So the views are not impacted that way. So I feel like as a developer, we've gone way out of our way to make sure that this design is a good project, is a high-end project, but it's in line with the character of the community next door. So we've tried to be very thoughtful of our approach. So that's what I'll say on that. And if you have any other specific questions. please feel free.
I'm still waiting on an answer to understand the 4 cars of off-street parking in that reduced setback.
So-
We just think the 18 feet will do it. And we're not concerned
The,
about going to crush into.
A standard parking space is 9 by 18 feet.
It is, but there's usually a 2-foot, there's a wheel stop and a 2-foot provision for a 2-foot overhang. And I'm wondering how I'm going to get a wheel stop in my driveway and still get in my garage.
Sorry, my computer's gonna die. I gotta move it over. We are providing enough for a standard space. If somebody has an oversized Super Duty truck, I don't know that we can accommodate that. We're not the housing project, for that buyer.
In many jurisdictions, if I'm converting the garage, I'm required to put a wheel stop to prevent vehicles from running into the building, as is the case in most parking lots. I generally have a wheel stop at 16 feet in that 18-foot stall, right? So it's not the oversized vehicle, it's just a convention of parking. That's some jurisdictions don't allow that tandem parking, right? That doesn't count. Benicia, for instance, that driveway, that's not a parking space. But so we're still, I mean, it's there. I understand, an exigent circumstance, I can put a vehicle there. It's sort of parking. Again, but by black letter ordinance, I guess.
The garages are 20 feet deep, so if you want to park a car inside the garage, you would have 20 feet.
Yeah. And I think so, so the answer is that you guys are, I'm looking not just to antagonize, I just want to kind of dig into this. There's some concerned homeowners and some respondents on this, and these are, I think, fair questions, and now I do get to talk about it. And then the fire marshal's fine, right? He's got plenty of room, you've got hammerheads, he can turn his truck around, he's not worried about getting in and out. EMTs can do their thing pretty comfortably. And then what about, there was something in the letter about the house getting hit by cars? Do you have the correspondence?
I'm not sure I think that was from the corner property. I don't know. They're at the bottom of the hill now, so I'm not sure what would change with our development. So
that was my sense. I didn't totally follow it, but it's a concern.
Yeah, but that is the owner that we would like to confer with. So I'm happy to learn more about that concern.
Yeah. So maybe then I'll reach out to Cesar and we can connect you with that property owner. I've got the correspondence.
Yeah, I would welcome that. I'm always welcoming a discussion. We've held community meetings and we have a website for people to comment, and we're open to taking comments. We can't always make everybody happy, but yes, if that homeowner is able to speak with us, then we're happy to speak with them too.
And then it seems that the architect made some efforts and kind of kept the roof lines pretty restrained. I saw some fairly low pitch roofs kind of struggling to kind of articulate a lower ridge line and stay down under that more modest height, which seemed pretty good. I've certainly worked on some bigger than this houses in Glen Cove, so I'm sure this neighborhood, it is vintage development, but certainly in other areas in Glen Cove, there are homes of this stature for sure, because I've worked on them. So I've drawn plans of them. I know they're there. So I think that's all I've got. I've got my questions asked and answered. Anybody else, or do we look for a motion?
Oh, just through the chair, the planning director is bringing back copies of the findings that are required, so you can look through all the criteria that you can be applying. Did you want to wait for that?
Well, gosh, no, not really, because I've antagonized this poor applicant enough already, I think.
They're bringing back those plans tonight?
No, she's bringing back the documents, the staff report that informs you as to what you're supposed to base your decision on and the findings. So, because I don't think any of you have them with you.
Well, it's just that's down there on page 112, and like the Wi-Fi here is terrible. My iPad keeps freezing.
So I
blame it on
just
you.
Letting you know that she's bringing copies,
okay, well,
physical copies back to you.
That would be great. That would be fantastic. Do you know which page it is? Now my iPad is working. Yep. I actually think the houses look kind of nice, and I recently was at a client site with less space than this, and similar, 3,000-foot, two-story, almost like townhomes, almost like, what's the place the Dutch guy built? Mandarich, Gary Mandarich. Is that Tiara? Sort of parking court with garage doors circled around a common parking court. But it's how you can afford a house anymore in California.
The recommended resolution is page 18 of the 117. That's where it starts.
Okay, perfect. So I'll just read it off real quickly. Whereas findings relevant to the approval, relevant scope of design review, purpose of the chapter, establish and encourage new structures.
And the findings are on page 19 of the 117.
Do you guys want to grab a copy? So do you have a copy, Board Gordon?
I'm just looking on the computer.
Okay, great. Do you want to grab, sort of shoulder surf and look at mine, or? No. Okay.
I do want to comment, though, through
Oh,
the
great.
chair, to the applicant. I do want to say that based on my review, the drawings that were submitted are of the highest quality, and that the architectural design is on trend. Civil looks like they did due diligence, and landscape did make some careful considerations that look like they will work. And that was all that I'd like to say.
Yeah, I would agree. I thought it was a very competent design document, just not enough trees. But I always want more trees, so.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has said the design is bad. The houses are beautiful.
And it's a beautiful set
The
of
design
plans.
is beautiful. But like the commenter said, this is not going to solve a housing problem because these homes are not for Vallejoans. But we're not talking about that, so.
Thanks, Cesar. In Ladera, they require you to illuminate the address numbers with moonlight wherever possible to, save energy. Okay. Well, I'm comfortable that we've covered all the relevant findings. I always wish there were more trees. What, Eli? You look like you're about to press the button.
Yeah, through the chair, if we were to make a recommendation to the planning department, what I'm seeing here is that it seems to me that a bulk of the comments were in regards to the project not being designed in consideration to the neighboring development. And I note that there is a response here from planning. Can you speak more to that? I think that would be the main objection here to most people. Would you mind elaborating on the answer here? That would be under section D. C would be the sub-point, I guess. I don't know how to break down the document, but do you know where I'm headed with that?
Project has been designed with consideration of neighboring development. Project has been designed with consideration of the existing neighborhood development to the east. The existing development is classified as detached single and two-story homes with hip and gable roofs with a mixture of stucco, wood, and batten siding. The proposed project will incorporate two-story homes that include a variety of different building materials such as stucco, stone, or brick veneer, cementitious lap siding or panels, cementitious board and batten siding, and naturally decay-resistant wood with the application of natural or neutral paint colors and installation of drought-tolerant front yard landscaping as proposed. All design elements will not only complement each other, but will also complement the existing surrounding development to the west. So we started out in the east and we've moved to the west. But I don't find anything in there. Do you want Cesar to sort of expand on that? Can you tell us what those considerations beyond what I just read would be?
I think more than anything, I just wanted to make that a topic of conversation here. And I think, really what we're talking about there is aesthetics. Is that correct? That we're not discussing the considerations as far as egress and the effects on the roadways. That's not what we're talking about here under that sub point.
Yeah, through the chair, that's correct. So the overall, what the purview of the design review board is to kind of go over what the overall design and aesthetics is, and of course the landscaping and any proposed signage for a specific project. If the design review board does make a recommendation tonight before the planning commission is the body that hears essentially like the concerns regarding traffic, the biological resources, aesthetics, air quality, cultural resources, greenhouse gas emissions, noise, and tribal cultural resources, just to name a few of like the topics that are covered by the environmental document. Just to kind of add a little bit more about the process, as of right now, we're proposing to do an environmental impact report, and it's going to be available once it's ready. It's going to be available to the public for public comment review. Once that document does come out, once again, we will be sending out a notification to all the property owners within 500 feet, all the interested parties that have sent comments and correspondence, not only for the design review board tonight, but also for the notice of preparation that was prepared. And part of the scoping meeting, the individuals that signed up, they have been getting electronically emailed the notifications whenever there's, for example, when this public hearing was scheduled and a notice was sent out. So the public commenting period is typically open for 30 to 45 days. They can provide and submit comments regarding what's written and studied in the environmental impact report. Staff and the consultant, and we would be reviewing those comments and see what sections of the environmental impact report we need to look further into, just in case if they brought something up that wasn't addressed. And then we do respond to those comments as well. And then the responses do get published again, and then once again it goes before the planning commission, where one of the aspects of the planning commission is that they will be making a recommendation to the city council to certify the environmental impact report. So.
Thank you, that's very clear.
whatever it's worth, I think that strictly speaking to the architectural design, that this is in fact in reasonable harmony with the surrounding neighborhood. It's construction.
Can you speak?
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I can't hear you very well. I
Sorry
don't know
about
about
that. So,
others,
yeah,
but.
I think in general, speaking to the architectural design, these are in fact pretty sensitive to the neighborhood. I understand they're bigger and there's environmental concerns, but the architecture of the building as a standalone is consistent with Glen Cove proper, and there are numerous homes of this nature in Glen Cove. And the rest of it, I think, is outside our purview. So I'd certainly be open to a recommendation to planning to approve if I heard such a motion.
Can you guys speak into your microphone so that everyone
You
can
mean
hear
we
you?
can't caucus secretly? Yep, I believe it's a downslope into the subdivision. So you drop down into the subdivision. Exactly. Silence on all sides, it's crickets. Okay, so I'd like to either move or call for a motion to adopt a resolution recommending the Planning Commission approving design review DR 23-0006 and landscape review LR 23-0002 for a 51-unit single-family residential subdivision, Vista Cove, located on a vacant site near the intersection of Shady Lane and Wildflower Avenue, APN 0079-171-170 and 0079-120-100. I have neither a motion nor a second. Do I have a counter motion?
I would like to make a recommendation, or a motion to make a recommendation to the Planning Commission based on the design review of the landscape components, and that would include the overall design, architecture, and landscaping proposed. Design review DR 23-0006, landscape review LR 23-002, development review DVR 23-0018.
Through the chair, it'll just be just the design review and the landscape review.
The first two, okay. So is that sufficient?
Okay, so I have a motion. Can I get a second?
I second.
Okay, got a second, let's call. We got a second, let's call the vote.
have 3 ayes and the motion carries.
And this, just to clarify, this is not approved until the Planning Commission and the community is able to discuss, correct?
That's correct.
Wonderful.
And
Through the chair, it's going to have to go to council to get approved, so
Yeah.
not planning commission. Planning commission's going to make a recommendation to council. Ordinarily, it would be planning commission, but this time there's rezoning, so that has to go to council.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lengthy
I
and
know.
time-consuming.
And we are not voting on anything of significance, so, you know,
Well, in a sense, yeah. Again, it's a recommendation to a body that will be making a recommendation of its own, as opposed to. So, in that case, I'm going to close item 7, and we will move on to item 8, written communications. Do we have any written communications?
Through the chair, the only written communications we received tonight were the 6 public comments that were provided to the commission and posted online regarding the action item tonight.
Very good, thank you. So I will close written communications, and we'll move on to item 9, report of the chairperson and members of the committee and board. Item A, secretary's report. Do you have a report for us?
Thank you, Chair. First off, I want to say great to see everyone on the board tonight. I think it's been about 7 months since we last had a meeting. I did hear the preliminary conversations before the meeting regarding the notification when upcoming meetings are coming. I did hear that, and then kind of like I confirmed earlier, you guys are getting my emails. So for future projects, what I would do once the email is sent out, I'll follow up with the second one just to ensure that everyone has received it. And as well, if anyone is interested in receiving a paper copy of the agenda and the overall packet, please let us know and we can provide that to you guys and have it available for you guys to pick up. So, and that concludes my report for tonight.
Okay, and 9B, city attorney's report.
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Well, that's probably a good thing. But council wish you would say that sometimes. 9C, report of the chairperson and members of the commission. I have nothing to report. Any of my fellow board members? Look,
Hey.
we've been promoted to commissioners.
I have nothing to report.
Okay, and then we will move on to 9D, report of the ad hoc subcommittee, of which I believe we have none, in which case I'd like to move on to item 10, adjournment. It's official.
hello, sir. Is there, you walked around the bottom, is there a restroom behind there? There is. Thank you.